guys, welcome to another season of the On Her Mark podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Donnelly, and we're kicking off season 4 here with a woman that flew all the way from Scotland for us. Well, kinda. Former pro hooper and player development coach Kerri Kuzbyt did fly from Scotland, but she was in town to coach a clinic for middle and high school students here in Newton, and she carved out some time to chat. Kerri is the head of player development for the Scottish Basketball Federation, leading their U14 female and male national programs. Her modern approach is unique. She works with athletes to find functional movement solutions effective for each athlete's individual body. She also works with them to build a resilient mindset and strengthen their court IQ. How does she do it? Well, it's all evidence-based principles, but a big driver for it is embracing failure. Working with a player development coach drastically changed Kerri's play and growth, so she is eager to share that with more athletes and be part of the growth of the women's game. So please welcome Kerri Kuzbyt to the On Her Mark podcast. Kerri, welcome to Boston.
I appreciate you having me.
It's awesome to have you not only here in Massachusetts, but here in the States.
Yeah, right.
I mean, tell people, first of all, introduce yourself to everyone. Who are you? What are you all about? Why are you here?
So my name is Kerri Kuzbyt, and I'm originally born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So really 8 hours directly north of Minnesota. So the frozen tundra. And then for the last year and a half, I've been in Glasgow, Scotland, and I was sought out to fill a position out there to do player development for specifically the athletes there on the national teams, for specifically the youth development. So trying to get the next generation, and especially for females, in kind of that pathway to, can you now represent your country? Can we now get more Scottish athletes specifically to represent the GB shirt? Because I was actually quite unaware, when you see Team GB, it actually has Scotland and England a part of it. And not a lot of Scots are actually represented. So for me, the goal is how many more Scots can we develop and compete with those English to kind of get them a bit more represented. So in addition to that, I travel the globe, which is incredible in an aspect, a part of changing the female culture in how they train and how they see the game, but more so also how you could start to learn in a greater context, strip it outside of sport, with regards to failure, with messiness, and just a different approach on how could we efficiently learn and take some of these things from the game, and start to have, more effective and a bit more proficient movers, but more confident females, essentially. So
what I love is that you are working with all different age groups, right? Like,
yes,
you're working with those that are about to represent their country, which is, the top of the top. And then you're working with kids who are just starting out and they're trying to become athletes. And I know we're going to dive into the basketball player versus athlete conversation a little bit later, because when we first connected, I was like, this is like a light bulb moment. But before we get to that, we got to go back to your basketball playing days, because you're walking into this with quite a resume yourself. What drew you to sports and to basketball originally?
My brother and my dad. So I grew up, I have an older brother, I have an older sister, but just being around my older brother and with the boys, I just loved being physically active, playing, whether it was like taking the football outside or even my neighborhood friends at recess. We would just go and take like golf clubs and like in the open field, like just swing them. So I was just always like physically active, and my dad was my first coach, and my brother played football. So it was just always around that. And I just always engaged in it. And my mom was always, and my mom's still working out like a savage as well. So it was just always, I think, part of it, and growing up in that environment, which speaks a lot to even myself as a skill practitioner. The environment and how you grow up and where you grow up actually says a lot. And there are so many factors with regards to skill, but who you are and how that makes you up, and you act that certain way, or you have this behavior, you move. And so the power of the environment is incredible.
Absolutely. And so when did you know that this was something that you wanted to pursue
throughout your life. And, we see a lot of the statistics, right, that girls drop out of sports much sooner than boys do. And for a variety of reasons, I'm sure some of what you just talked about plays into that, right, of dropping out of sports. But what made you say, no, I want to pursue this at the professional level, and then I want to pursue this as a career beyond that?
Yeah. For me, it was always, how far can I push myself, and what is actually the potential I'm actually capable of? And it was just something in me where, hey, somebody can't not tell me that I can't do it. I just want to see if I can. So unless somebody tells me I can't, I can.
Yeah.
I think that just goes to everything, not even just sport, but who's to say you can't pursue this? Who's to say you can't become that person? So for me, not only did I really love just the physical challenge and then starting to learn, and obviously you have to still be curious and want to have that level of sacrifice when we are playing, like in Canada, 5 years of D1 versus the States, you get 4 years. So 5 years on top of that. And then, I still like the discomfort, the curiosity, and me getting better and me not being good right now, because that just reveals, whoa, I'm still not great yet. Yeah. And it just allows me to keep searching. And so I just crave off of that because who doesn't want to wake up and try and be the best version of themselves?
100%.
If you don't, and whether it's in sport or anything,
right,
just zoom out and think, okay, why do I wake up? Like, what is my kind of purpose in what I do? And so for me, that was sport and pursuing it at the professional level. And what it came with it was so much more outside of sport. And you learn so much more as a person, resilience, how you respond to things and adversity that you go through, the gratitude that you could just zoom out and see, like, whoa, I did this. And I remember, like, I always thought, okay, once I get to where I want to get to professionally, I'll wake up one day and just like take a moment and soak it in. Like in the apartment, I remember when I was playing in Germany, I woke up, I was like, oh, 4 years. I remember how I had to work for this.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like waking up in this apartment. I get to do what I love and train. Yeah, I earned this. This is cool. And just being fully present.
Which is hard to do. It's really hard to do. And something also that you talk about there is that you're still loving it. You're still wanting to get better. You're still wanting to push yourself. And I think often today we hear about burnout. I mean, I played collegiate volleyball. I played for 4 years, Division I, and I will admit, by the end of that 4 years, I was done. I was like, I'm grateful for the time I had.
Yep.
But my body's done. My mind is done. Like I burned out from the sport. And I think that a lot of what you are helping athletes with now avoids the burnout in a indirect way, right? Because you are coaching and developing players to think beyond just the skill.
Yes.
You're teaching them to be problem solvers and strategic, and that's so unique. So I want you to explain what it means to be a player development coach, and what you're coaching this clinic this week in Newton. What does it mean to coach the mind in this sport?
Yeah, and I even want to go and touch on the fact, for me, I think the biggest approach to it outside of the sport is, and it's something that I really wish I was kind of directed towards understanding earlier, because you talked about burnout, and a lot of athletes, when they finish their playing career, you'll go through a period of time, and it's natural. You'll go through a loss of identity.
100%.
And especially ones like, whether you played like Division I in Canada, Division I in the States, D2, any elite level post secondary professional. Yeah, it's because you put all of your time and your sacrifice in building this identity. I really wish somebody would have prepared me, and I talk about this to my really good friend who plays on the senior national team for Canada and still plays professionally overseas. And she's a huge advocate for women and mental health and everything. And you hear it a lot more prominent with athletes as well. And I really wish I was communicated to, you could still be ruthless and healthily obsessive passive in your pursuit of your goals, but you could also still start to prepare yourself for life after, because eventually the ball will stop bouncing. Who are you going to become after? Because you are not all of that.
Yeah.
And when you only wrap yourself up into that, the fall afterwards, and I'll admit it, it was tough.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I'm just a basketball player. And like, I knew there was more to me, but truthfully, I didn't know kind of what that was, because no one was saying, hey, you could still be this. It was is that staple, like, Kobe mama mentality type thing where like, no, you're just this, you're just this. But let's be real, like, only so many of them play in the high league. So many of them play. I never got to represent my nation, Canada, like only a small percentage, right? So it's allowing these athletes and me communicating them, even to the camp. Okay. I say to them afterwards, hey, for the rest of the day, you don't play basketball. You go do something else. Why? Because it's allowing them, it's giving them permission to, you're not just more than this thing. And I point to the ball.
Yeah.
And then by them starting to understand, wow, I could still be like, I could work really, really intentionally with intensity and hard, but I could still enjoy life. I could still be somebody else and play at a high level. Yeah, you can.
When we first connected, we had a conversation about the basketball player versus the athlete.
Yeah.
You are coaching at a basketball clinic this week, and you said, I don't want basketball players. I want you to play basketball, but I want athletes.
Yeah.
So, Kerri, can you explain the difference between a basketball player and an athlete? Because I think someone listening might be like, that's a silly question.
Yeah. And it ties into when you were saying, was it kind of mean to be a player development coach? Now, player development and skill practitioner, essentially, because that's the beauty about physical activity. It's movement across all sport. It's just how proficient of a mover you are. And each sport has, yes, a certain degree of movements that are specific to it that you have to become efficient in. And that's essentially what it is. And that's why I want athletes, because the best athletes, are the best players and the most skillful are your most proficient movers. And those are the athletes. They are exposed to many different learning contexts that allow them to acquire so many different movements and movement patterns, because we strip away the label of baseball, basketball, football. At the end of the day, it is the human body. It's coordinating. How could you move your uniquely built body in a way that is efficient, that obtains the goal, and at the same time is safe for you, because you never want to feel unsafe in your own body. And so for me, with player development and skill practitioner, it's more so, how can we get you to understand the beautiful, unique body that you have and move it in a way that allows us to get the outcome we want, but that's best for you. Versus trying to force them to move a certain way that's uncomfortable, that's not built for them, whether through their anatomical build, through possible injuries, how they grew up, in what environment, all those things. There's so many factors. So at the end of the day, when it comes to, are you a player, which means you've only exposed yourself to that one learning environment, that one way to move. So you only are kind of restricting your body to say, hey, only move like this. So when now chaos, when unpredictability comes, which is in every sport, because that is a game, nothing is scripted. If you only move that one way, you increase your likelihood of injury, and you actually limit your options of, hey, how could I respond and be adaptable? And that is skill. Skill is adaptability and efficiency, and that's being an athlete.
And you're coaching for them to make their own decisions, right?
Yes.
The idea is that these athletes are on the court, on the field, on the ice, whatever sport they're playing, they are in a situation and they have the confidence to make the decision to say, this is what I'm going to do because I've been in this position before and this is what's going to work best. And maybe that's because they've been in that position before and they chose something different, and Kerri, they failed. And it didn't work. And failure is the most important part of this entire conversation, I think, because you encourage these athletes to fail and to fail again and to fail again and to be okay with that. Why?
Because without failure, there's no learning. The failure are a bunch of lessons accumulated together. that's going to give us information. And so if we don't fail, it's leading us to, okay, that didn't work. Now we got to be curious and try something else. And that's the biggest thing I communicate to athletes as well as coaches or anybody. You have to remain curious, because when you're curious, you're continuing to search for something that's going to be the best solution for you. And when you could find that, now we just start to exploit it. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to, and in basketball context, all we want to do is have the ball go in the net.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you do it. Okay? And it's going to look different. Why? Because everybody is built different. Everybody moves different. We should not try to be common, whether that's in sport or just even as a person.
In life, yeah.
You want to be different. You want to stand out. Because if you want to just fit in and be average, then you can't expect yourself to then obtain the extraordinary results that you want to or reach the highest point. No, you have to do uncomfortable. You have to do stuff that's uncertain. And yes, with that comes failure, because also that is true learning. It's non-linear. It's not like this.
Yeah.
You're going to have days where you move forward, then you're going to regress. Then you're going to stay still. But that is where your most authentic skill and your movements and the style of which you're starting to figure out. So if there is no failure, if there's no challenge, you're not learning. Then you're not developing. So then what do we have?
Yeah. And so if someone's listening to this and saying, okay, this all sounds really good and this sounds great, right? Like I'm all on board for this, but this sounds intense maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe this is something that you're thinking like a high school kid, a college kid, an adult.
Yeah.
We could all appreciate like failing every once in a while.
Yeah.
I feel like especially as adults, we don't like doing that. But this is really something that you can start at every age because there's an age-appropriate way. So you are working with middle school kids right now.
Yeah.
And like, I'm curious, what is the reception of these girls at camp when they're hearing you say it? Because I feel like there's so many societal things that are like, get it right, be perfect, do all these things. And like, or you hear the stories like Caitlin Clark, she was always so great when she was a younger athlete. And like, maybe you're not the best athlete at 12 years old, and that doesn't mean that your future isn't bright. So what's the reception when you're saying these things at camp, Kerri?
Whether it's middle school or just like also those athletes where, again, society where failure is not accepted and it's redefining failure, they always think I'm sarcastic. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost, especially with middle schoolers, at that point in time where they're like maturing now as like people in the world, they're like, who is this? What is she saying? Like,
who
she's
invited
crazy.
her?
Like, what the hell? Like, you get a little sass.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But it's about then expressing to them, and I always say it, where when I celebrate that they mess up, that they fail, I say, no, this is good. And the fact that you're experiencing something never before is telling me that, okay, you're welcome. Why? Because with uncertainty, with unfamiliarity, and with doing something different, now you're going to get different. So if you don't want to be different and search out, you can't then expect that different outcome that you want.
Right. It's like, what's the thing is like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over
It
again
is.
and like
And
expecting something
a different outcome. Yeah.
And we all do it. We're all guilty of it because it's comfortable, Kerri, because it's comfortable and we don't want to be
And
uncomfortable.
comfort is complacency. Right? So at the same time, like with the middle schoolers, then it's like, oh, but then when you give them that invitation, man, the environment switches. And then they're like, oh, and then it's creating that environment of safe to fail. Okay. And that uncertain safety, creating a culture of error. And remember, we talked about this, but it's, again, error is good. Error is information to our bodies. If we're going to go from like the skill acquisition standpoint, when something unfamiliar in our body is occurring, when I'm getting you to move a different way, when I'm actually trying to unlock all these different types of ways in which our body could beautifully coordinate itself in the endless amount, infinity. Now it's about, okay, oh, that felt like really weird. Okay. Yeah. That's your body telling you like, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay. But then it's telling you, okay, maybe I should search for it more, or like, whoa, this is something new. So we want errors. We want those signals in our body. And then when I tell them that is good, so it's now explicitly allowing them to understand, because I think that's the other thing, society and like the institutes and all that, hey, if you don't get 50, you fail. You do bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but like along the way, did you start to maybe you failed less on this test? You still failed, but hey, now you got 47. You didn't get a 20%,
yeah.
right? But then they don't applaud that because it's just so black and white. So I think it's a very common and it's unfortunate, especially with today where, and both of you, we're not old, but it's the generational thing. There is a
100%.
generational factor where it's all about instant gratification and it's all about, okay, if I don't get it, it's zero. It's the same thing. It's D1 or nothing.
Right.
It's no. That's
not it. Yeah.
Exactly. There's so many different options.
We glorify the high point scorers. We glorify those that get the stats, the double doubles, the triple doubles, whatever it might be. But like there are so many athletes, especially, and I'm focusing here on the WNBA and women's basketball, but there are so many athletes that are the playmakers that don't get the fame and the glory that some other athletes in the league get. And it's not because they're any less of players, but they know their strengths. And so what I hear you saying is that you're allowing and encouraging these athletes to find those strengths.
Yeah, you got to be your own. For me, like no one is self-made. Everyone has come from somewhere, and it goes back to being uniquely authentic.
Yeah.
And there's no authenticity because why? So many people we're in a comparison world.
Yeah.
Everyone's always comparing. Everyone's guilty of it, right? Yeah. But
it's natural.
But when you just start to think and focus too much more on them, and now you're trying to be someone you're not, that's where you run into issues. And even from like a skill standpoint, and we always say and see it as coaches, when you're trying to be a player that you're not and trying to play like hero ball or whatever, that's what gets you like no playing time. That's what gets you no contract when you're trying to please somebody else. Same thing even in like a job interview or anything.
Yes.
If you only want to say what they want to hear and like you're setting yourself up for a bad fall.
Not all of us have the privilege to sit in a seat where we can coach, where we can be in these environments that are naturally learning experiences, right? But there are people that are listening that are coaches themselves. Maybe they are players, they are parents, they are mentors. What is something people can do outside of the coaching space to help young athletes in their life adopt this mindset and this work ethic?
Embracing more the fact that you want to be different, you want to stand out, and that you want to be unapologetically you, which means sacrificing and saying no isn't to be rude. It's just revealing your priorities and not trading off your happiness to just please somebody else's.
Yeah.
So I think you need to say no a lot more often and accept that and not take offense to it and allow them to be them.
For people that want to learn more about you and what you're working on and all that good stuff, where can they follow along?
I am on X at Kerri Kuzbyt majority of the time, and the biggest platform is Instagram at Coach Kuz, and that's where really having the platform to communicate and to express throughout all the world. But you'll find me there. You can send me any questions, and I love conversation where you gain a new perspective, you gain a different kind of view of the world. So if you could connect with as many people as you can, it's one of the greatest things that we could do in the world, and that's how we just kind of deepen our kind of lens and our knowledge on things and our growth. So they can find me there, and I would love it.